Prince Lestat by Anne Rice. This is the first in 3 newer books in the Vampire Chronicles, published almost a full 11 years after Blood Canticle, which was originally the end to the series. The older vampires around the world have been hearing a voice in their head, and even some of the younger ones too. And this voice prompts them to burn a lot of the younger ones. So many vampires around the world are dying, and the vampire population wasn't that big to begin with. But as Lestat tells us in the earlier chapters of the book, there have been a significant increase in the vampire population over the past decade or so. The estimated numbers in the book, I think, were like maybe in the... not even the tens of thousands, I think less than that. Lestat is one of those vampires who has been hearing the voice, but while he at first dismisses it like a lot of the other vampires do, he begins to start trying to talk to it, trying to understand it, trying to figure out what it actually is. There are so many of your fan favorite characters from earlier in the series that make a return in this book, and there are some new characters as well. You get introduced to Farid, who is a vampire scientist who has been working on trying to scientifically figure out what the vampires have been all about. There are a couple previously unnamed characters that have been referenced in prior books to the Vampire Chronicles that are named this time around. There are some vampire characters that were believed to be dead in their original, when they were originally introduced in the Vampire Chronicles, that have turned out to be actually alive. I will not say who, because that is some massive spoilers. Over the course of the book, the vampires that remain have been slowly congregating in New York at a flat that is in where Armand and Benji and all of them, even Louis, they all end up congregating in this one spot as kind of like a haven of sorts, as a meeting place. The idea is that this is a great crisis that has befallen the vampire world, and just like what happened in the novel The Queen of the Damned, the vampires have to come together to stop it. And part of what triggers this is Benji's online radio cast that goes throughout the world that all vampires can hear. Humans would be able to listen to it too, but they wouldn't really understand it or believe it. They would think it's some kind of drama or something. But he uses it as a way to reassure all the other vampires, as a way to inform them of what they learn. And every time a new coven house or more vampires are killed in other areas of the world, and he gets informed of this, he announces it. So he keeps them all up to date on this stuff. I was very skeptical going into this book, I'm not gonna lie. It's been so many years since Anne Rice had last wrote and published a book in this series, and I read something online that said, she had reread the prior books and it kind of inspired her to add more, which is great. But by the same token, she has misstepped in some of her books in the past, in my opinion, and I wasn't optimistic. I was cautious, and I have never been so happy to be wrong in my life. Like, if you're someone like me who feels like the first 3 books in the series are pretty much the pinnacle of what the series was, and the rest was kind of then you're going to be really, really thrilled with this book, because it feels like those first 3 books. It feels like she never left. And I wasn't sure at first, but by the time I got to the end of the book, I was like, she still has it. She still has it. If you haven't seen my review for Blood Canticle, the original final book in the Vampire Chronicles, then I recommend you check it out over here. I mentioned in that review the fact that I was cautious about reading both that book and this one because of the fact that I wasn't sure with how the series ended whether they would clash at all. And in fact, they don't, because Blood Canticle was left very open-ended. Prince Lestat is, in turn, especially with the gap between that one and this one, could start literally anywhere. And the book has, in fact, gone back to retroactively add in different things and retcon some other stuff. And not so much as it seems too forced, because most of the time, like especially with the vampires that are believed to have been dead and are alive again, many of them have been older vampires, right? And we know that if you're a vampire who has drank a lot of the blood of some of the older vampires, or you are an older vampire, eventually you'll get to the point where it becomes extremely difficult to kill you. The revelation of who the voice is, I mean, you could probably guess it. It wasn't a surprise when it came about, because I was already suspecting it. I suspected it before the start of the book, I'll be real, so it's not a huge reveal. I feel like it was handled really well. It was definitely handled well. In terms of ratings, I gave Prince Lestat a 4-star on Goodreads. I believe I gave it 4.5 on the Storygraph. It is on par with, like, Interview with the Vampire in my mind as far as how good the book is. Not quite as good as the Vampire Lestat. It still doesn't get there. But like I said, if you're looking for a book that harkens back to the first books in the series, this is, in my opinion, the perfect book for that. And it's a great way to get back into the series after so many years of nothing. And the book also doesn't assume that you know everything, which is good. It backtracks in some ways, but not so much that if you're already familiar with the series, you're going to be bored. It's just enough to get the point across, and that's it. This makes me all the more excited to read the next book. I'll admit it. I'll admit it. This is getting my hopes up. Alright, that was my review for Prince Lestat by Anne Rice. I would love to hear what you think about the book in the comments below. And with that, I would like to thank you for watching this video today, and I will talk to you later. Bye!